everybody. Welcome to Business in the Raw, where the world is your oyster. You're watching episode 7, Gilliant and Resilient. All this positioning and messaging is all right, I guess, but how do you know it's going to work against a business model? Gill is here to validate our ideas. Last week, we saw Gill and Janine get into it in a transformational coaching session that put our ideas for how this brand could go and grow, and based on Jill's modeling for an ideal business that came about through discovery of Janine's goals and vision for her own life. Let's get back into it with Gill and Janine and find out just how close we've come with this brand and if it needs any more fine-tuning or refinement, and how this is going to course correct the direction of our business development and for the better.
So, yeah, I'm not even sure why I mentioned that, but I know what it feels like to start out and you don't have clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also that's part of your mission too, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Your mission isn't just to create a thriving business for yourself so that you become rich. Right. Your mission is to give a space to other black and brown voices who need to be heard.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So that is as important. I know that's as important to you as it is to create this profitable business. Yes. That just having this platform available for people who, let's face it, not everyone is as business savvy to begin with, or as connected, or as able to work with people like Rebecca and myself. Not everyone is there. And so for people who are starting out and have a dream of being voice talent,
yes,
having a really ethically run, absolutely aligned with who they are agency that they can come to is going to just be such a bloody blessing.
You hit it right on the head. Exactly. And to know what, wow, and this agency would hire me. And it's interesting because I don't know, I did mention, there might be people who are starting out or whatever, and maybe in the future that is an arm to help cultivate, but that's not where I'm going right now. But to help
Iteration 3 might be an academy.
Yeah. Yes. Oh,
who knows? Who knows?
Yes.
And again, isn't it funny? Because you know how I said we know what A looks like, we know what B looks like, maybe we know what C now might look like.
Yes, exactly.
And then it's the breadcrumbs. But if we go back to that simplicity, that organic, okay, maybe the model for that would be that people come into your network who are either ready to go, in which case they are in the B column of talent that's ready to be found an opportunity, or maybe they're in the C column, which is all they know is that's what they want to do. And they would love to be mentored by someone like you, and they would love to join the academy and learn how to do it so that they can move over to bucket B where the agency finds them.
Exactly.
It's beautiful synergy.
The synergy. It
At
is.
the danger of overwhelming everything, of course. This is my problem. We can't go big enough for me. What's next?
So funny because Rebecca, and I think, and you may have this, I think maybe you're saying riding a horse with two riding. Okay, I'm not going to try to.
Oh, I can't remember. Is it riding a? I wanted to say riding a horse with two arses, but I don't think that's right.
I think that's it. I think,
is it?
I think so.
That sounds something
or
Rebecca
something like
would say.
that. I don't know, but anyway, but you get it, because sometimes
we can get too complicated, but it's great to have this. It's really lovely to have an unlimited mindset for this kind of thing, because I tell you what, once you open up and become unlimited with a point Z somewhere on the horizon, point B, A to B suddenly doesn't feel like a stretch.
It doesn't.
That's the next thing is just the next thing. It's not unattainable dream. It's just iteration 2. It's phase 2.
It is phase 2.
And your job is now is to focus on phase 1.
Yeah.
Capture with Rebecca the messaging for that niche that you've now so beautifully identified and really got clear on. And then it's about, okay, let's find out what they want in terms of offers. And then we package it up. Then we move on to the third leg of the stool, rather, which is the pricing. And we start saying, okay, what do other people charge? How can we do some market research to benchmark what artists charge in this arena? And if a normal voiceover artist charges that, what do I charge as someone who brings so much more to the table? That's right, and also wants to have a philanthropic arm to my business whereby I can give opportunities to others. Maybe I need my pricing to work with me personally needs to be quite high ticket.
That's right. And
because you're so specialist in the area that you're going to be working in.
And it's I don't know if it's unnerving or it's a scary space to operate, because you then are pricing yourself based on that you're valued at. You've identified your value. You've identified that I'm bringing this, that, and the other that looks a little different than other Now, there's some voiceover artists, talents that are making really big money. They are dedicated to certain top 10 clients and so forth. So I don't want to bat an eye at that. At the same time, to be able to have certain clients that come to me, that's value, and who trust that I'm going to deliver on that product. And it's different because it's packaged. Like you said, it will be packaged differently.
Absolutely, it will be packaged differently. They won't be able to replicate it elsewhere. And that's what will keep them coming back to you as well, because they're going to know that from you they're getting so much more than going to a faceless agency and just scrolling through some images and bios and having to just pick someone. I don't think that's the model that you're going for here. This is something a little more bespoke, a little more tailored, a little bit more. No, this is for people who have a very important message to get out there.
Yes.
And need talent that gets that.
That gets it. And they are basically unafraid to use the voice that they will realize that they need. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And there'll be an education piece here, I think. And Rebecca will be able to really work with you on this in terms of the messaging. Because there'll be an education piece, because this is a case of really getting the businesses or the organizations, I think for you, it's going to be more organizations probably rather than necessarily businesses, but getting them educated around the potential of that they have if they hire you, the potential for getting a message out there that lands with the right people.
Yes.
But it's your job now to have messaging that really gets them to understand that.
That's right. And it's interesting because Rebecca and I talked a little about education, although it was slightly different. And I'm trying to remember at what point we talked about it, because I think she asked a question, perhaps, I can't remember the question, but anyway, I said something about education. She said, so are you the educator, basically? Are you the one that would show them that you are, I can't remember what it was, but I remember I was reaching low. I think this is the bottom line. We started in this conversation about education or whatever, and I was not looking at what we're talking about now, whereas you're educating this client about these are the reasons why you would want this package. You should being the educator. Oh, I know what it was. Like educating organizations who really didn't know the value of a voiceover artist. Okay, and that's a difference. We're talking
There's a difference there.
Right? I think that's what it was. And so she's like, is that what you really want? And the answer was no. I don't want to be the one that's reaching for someone who doesn't even know what they're looking for necessarily. And perhaps there might be cases where there's a little bit of that in the reaching out to organizations, but for the most part, I don't think it would be wise for me. There may be others to take that approach to organizations.
I think you're right, because those people don't even know they have a problem.
Yeah.
If you have to explain to them what a voiceover artist does and what the value they bring, you're not scratching an itch they have.
Yes.
Whereas with a big organization who has a budget to spend on doing this already. So this is another really important thing when you're thinking about a business model. For anyone watching, I really want you to hear this. If you have to make money with your business, so in other words, you're not running a charity or haven't got a trust fund that is paying all your bills and you're happy to do your work for nothing. And if you are, brilliant, that's fine. But if you need to make money, you have to target clients who have a budget to pay you. It is as simple as that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't ever work for free, but it means that your business model needs to be set up and balanced enough so that you bring in enough revenue to be able to make some scholarships available if you had an academy. It would need you to perhaps say, and use this as a marketing asset, say Janine donates X number of hours of voiceover talent per year to causes. Here's where you can apply for a grant or a sponsorship deal or whatever. But to do that, you have to have clients who are paying you. The balance has to be right. And it's really important. I see lots of people who are so purpose-driven and mission-based. But the problem is, if your drive is to help the homeless, you have to have some kind of other revenue stream that targets people with a budget to pay so that you can then help those homeless people, because that isn't a market that can afford you. So,
Jill, you're hitting, this is exactly where the conversation went, and you're absolutely right. And you can have, because we talked about altruism, and wanting to do things because whatever good reason there is. If you are to continue, I don't have to repeat everything you said, if you are to continue in that space, you're going to need money to do that. And so you want to identify people who can pay, the value that you've established for yourself or myself. I'm speaking as though I'm talking about somebody else as me.
It's a really great lesson, that is, for your own money mindset. Because so many people get tied up with the feeling that, or feel guilty for wanting to make good money. And they feel uncomfortable charging a certain amount. And I always say, but what about all the philanthropic stuff that can fund for you that's going to help the people who really can't afford to pay?
Yes.
And it often helps people to get more comfortable charging their value.
Yes. And I love that, because you then have an opportunity. You really can reach into those spaces and give back and offer scholarships or whatever. Ding,
and how
ding.
good does that feel? And that becomes part of the business model. So then when you've got your Google Doc open and you're mapping out your offers, because that's as complicated as that needs to be. Again, everyone likes to overcomplicate things. I have a Google Doc, and on it has my private client package. 3 months coaching with me costs this amount, and 6 months costs this, and 12 months costs. That's my private client packages. And then if I do a course, or at the moment I'm running a mastermind, that will just be, okay, so what do they get? They get a 90-minute call every other week. For mastermind, they get 90 minutes something else. And again, it's just mapping out what is the offer in time, in pre-campaign meetings. What is it you're offering as the package, and how much are you going to charge for it?
Yes, and how much you're going to charge. Jill, I have it is. Okay, so I have a business. It's called Legacy Story Gifts, and what I do, I create audio gifts for people around retirement and other life-changing events. And the thing is, the most difficult part, and I still haven't accomplished that, but now I'm working on this, was identifying how much to charge. Thinking about the time that it took for me to interview clients, to learn more about whomever the honoree is, writing the script, the whole bit. It was a challenge. It really, so I've done.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and so some of what we're talking about here is parallels with the work that I've done in Legacy Story Gifts, which is literally, I used to conduct focus groups as well years ago. So I would use that same process in identifying several family members and having a conversation with them, and then taking that information, summarizing, and then creating a script that then becomes what I voice, right?
Oh.
It's similar because I had to figure out what it is or were the highlights of this person's life that needed to, and that time to do that, it's almost, you say it's invaluable, but yet you got to figure out how much should you be.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's tough.
You've got to charge for your time, because there's a rising loud noise at the moment about not working on a time for money basis. And I get it. I get what that means. But I also feel like when you move too far away from that, sometimes it can backfire, because people start feeling like the value of what they're delivering is not as much as the time. It can almost, the balance shifts too much the other way. If you're delivering something that takes a lot of time to bring it together, that is part of the value of that. It's the biggest part of the value if it's your personal time to bring it together.
Yes.
So that has to be factored in.
It does. And done well. Again, this is where the village comes in, because you think you can approximate, and you think of course, there's a lot of labor statistics out there, how much certain services cost and whatever, but to really shape it, there should be someone working with you who's more knowledgeable about also the model, the full model that you're pulling together. It's not just, that's only one element, as you're sharing. That's only one element to everything. So
I think you're right. I think having another person to brainstorm about this kind of thing with helps you see. It just shines a torch in the upper corners that you perhaps haven't really seen clearly enough before, doesn't it? And I don't think it's something you can do alone.
I don't think so. Not only don't think so, I know that you cannot do it alone, because I've made that attempt. And every once in a while I still get business in that space, and it's great. But to be honest with you, because of the time and effort, and I'm one deep, and I will work with my son, who's an audio engineer, but he now has his own job. Our projects are now designed differently, how we work together. But the point is, that time and effort, I just started to question, okay, is this really a viable, because the other question, is this a viable model? Does that need to be reshaped? My approach to it, did that need to be reshaped? And I just couldn't get my head around, how do I change this thing? Yeah, but it's it's similar in a way, in terms of just having to think about the time, the effort, but then the cost. And then this may not be the right time to discuss it, but where does what the client may be to pay come in terms of a negotiation around what you feel that you're worth based on all the factors, and perhaps market value for something similar, and then you come out in the end with a cost that you've arrived at a cost, but sometimes that cost is lower than you know that you're worth. So
so that's
maybe
really
that's just
good
how
question. I love that question, because what that's saying to me is that if you've genuinely benchmarked against the market and you're still coming out lower than what you believe you're worth, then your next question is, okay, how is what I do better than what most people in the market do? How is it better? Because if it isn't, you shouldn't be charging more. Be better. And this is what, I think there's a lot of bullshit around with people saying, you can charge as much as you like. Yeah, you can. Don't expect anyone to pay for it, though, unless it is better than average. If you want to charge more than average, be better than average. And this is why niching is so important, because only when you're niched down can you be better than average, because average prices can support an average offer. And an average offer is usually the more generic offer, right? Now, an above average offer, a more valuable offer, is the one that is, wow, hang on, that's really personal to my industry. Or, hang on, this Janine, she understands the message that we're trying to get out about this. She gets it. Okay, now I get why she's more expensive than everyone else. So it's a really easy answer. If you're better than average, charge more than average. And if you are worse than average, close your business, because you have no business offering a below average service to anyone for anything.
Thank you.
And that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. People can dress that up any way they like.
I know there are many people. I know there are other people like me that are probably asking the same question.
Pricing is a minefield for people. People never know what to charge. And I always say the same thing. It's not the popular answer, but do the legwork, find out what the average pricing is in the market, and then find out how you can be better. How can you offer something that's bigger, better, more valuable, gets better results, is just blows away someone, goes above and beyond in delivery, then charge more. Then charge more.
Okay, that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah, and that's what you're building in.
Yes,
you're building that into your model, because you're going to be brave enough to say, I'm not the voiceover talent for everyone. Here's where I do the best work. If you know you have something that needs to get out there, I'm not the voiceover artist who will do a washing powder commercial. That's not me. If you want that person, you can buy average. If you want what I do, that's different.
That's right. This is different. Exactly. And thank you for that, and now again, the value of going through this process, because then you can easily differentiate yourself from the, I say average, or the other, because it's not, they don't have to be average. No. Yeah. Interesting.
And also, there's nothing wrong with being average. There's nothing wrong with being average.
Not. Yeah,
average is the right choice for lots of people. If you're on a budget, then maybe you can only afford an average person, and that doesn't mean that they're not going to give you an okay result. But if you want more, you pay more. That's
right. And that package that I will design will show them what the more is. And And as you said, then they choose. Do you want this value, or do you want this? And you're right.
That's right.
Average is great. And to be honest with you, there are voiceover artists that are, of course, better than me in terms of maybe the sound. I shouldn't say that, but there's always someone out there that has a different quality. So let me say that.
Well,
there's a different quality about their work.
It might be that there's a voiceover artist for washing powder manufacturers who, for whatever reason, that is their thing. They know how to be that kind of, yay, and this week we're bringing out, and maybe they're the perfect person for them.
That's right.
And then they can charge more than an average voiceover washing powder person can.
And they do. I was working with this man who's well known in New York he's a voiceover artist, and I realized that the sort of products that he markets, and he's absolutely fabulous, is not great for my voice. I'm not or my style, my delivery. It's just totally different. And I realized as we walked along, I think I worked with him for about 8 weeks or so, I thought, okay, this is great, a lot of learning, but I realized this is not for me. And I think we both agreed, okay, she's headed in a different direction. But great learning, but he is exceptional and very well paid, I'll just say, for what he does. Yeah.
This has been a lot for you to process. I think it's a lot.
Yes,
it has.
So
I just want to talk about what's next, really, because the next thing probably is to go away and process some of this and really start thinking about what those initial, even if it's one offer, what is one offer that you could put to someone? And because what we now want to think about doing is validating your offers, because you've got to be sure that they are what people want and need. The next thing is to start identifying some ideal clients in that arena and connecting with them, maybe on LinkedIn, whatever that looks like, and trying to set up some meetings where you are able to say to them, listen, I really have something here that I think is going to be very specifically of interest to you. Because I'm so interested in your feedback, I'm happy to do it for you either free or half price or whatever you want that to look like, because their feedback on working with you in this consultative and talent role is going to be invaluable for you for putting the offers together. You'll be able to get really good market intel from them.
I'm ready for that work. And because it's obviously will pay off in the end, and also in process of that next step, which is to be hired by someone based on the package that I'm presenting.
That's
So
right.
I like that.
So
like
validating it by having 2 or 3, I'd say 2 or 3 times you want to be able to get some kind of, and again, Rebecca's a really good person to talk to about beta testing, because she does it beautifully in her own business, in her own business course, which is Stone Fruit. She does this beautifully. She offers beta testers an experience of the offer, but she also is very direct about what feedback she wants from them.
Wow.
And that's very useful. So I would love you to talk to her about that maybe as a
I
next
will.
step as well.
I definitely will. And it seems like a natural, now that I know what I'm doing and the reason why, and then marrying those with those goals, it stacks up nicely.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so pleased.
It is. So,
I'm so pleased. Is there anything else that would make this session together feel more complete?
no, and this is a great note for us to land, because now the work, I have this work to do. Even that list of potential clients, right? Who are they really? Because that's a soul-searching thing too, that process. And it doesn't have to take all day. I'm just, these are the potential clients. And then identifying who of those I would want to work with, and then to propose this idea. Or I would obviously have to start laying things out, what it is, what's my offer, what's my proposal. So no, I don't think so at this time. But I'm at the point now. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to lose Jill. What else can I think of? But I think this has been a.
How about we talk again then?
Okay, that sounds.
That sounds better, because I don't want you to feel that you've got to get everything shoehorned into this one single session.
This has been great.
We're going to talk again.
Okay, great. I hope so, because this has been outstanding, and I'm ready. I'll be starting on this, obviously, later today, honestly. So
brilliant. I'm so pleased.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Rebecca.
Yes.
Yeah. So
She will want to debrief. And she and I will talk as well, because she and I will always record we always record a little sector where we coach together after she's been coaching. It's all very meta. I love it.
I love it too. It is very meta. Yes.
So it works nicely. Janine, I'm so excited for you. I'm beyond
Jill,
excited
thank
for
you.
you.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
so
excited.
welcome.
And again, an hour ago, you hadn't posed that question. Where do you really see yourself? What are your potential clients? Education, and all those, again, those are the breadcrumbs. I started to follow them. This is really what I want. And digging down to that niche. We talk about niche all the time.
Yeah.
And anyone watching, it's time that's well spent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really
Thank
works,
you so much.
right? You're so welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. I thank you so much. And I look forward to reconnecting. And so I'm not sure what all that
Definitely.
means and what time frame. But
It's
So this
absolutely been my pleasure, Janine.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And I thank you for this time and your expertise in this space. It has served to be just, and I keep saying invaluable, but it is. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Oh my God, you guys. Now is the time that we get to find out what happened in the transformative coaching call with Janine and Gilly. Janine got her Gilly time, and they did a deep dive into the positioning that Janine and I created last episode. And now we're going to find out where this business model is going. So I'm going to welcome to the stream Miss Jill Mooks here. Womp, 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 womp. Resident business coach of Business in the Raw. My professional business coach who's taken me from being a waitress in my own business to the 100 TV star you see before you today.
A goddess in your own business.
Thank you, darling. It's still an uphill battle, but nevertheless, we persisted. And here we are today. I am so excited to have you at this stage in the game in episode 6, our halfway point, because you have done some incredible work with Janine. I don't know the details of your conversation, but I do know that Janine sent me some gushing text messages about a little bit about what you talked about, and it seems like you've taken it even further into a sophisticated niche than even positioning did. So I can't wait to hear all about it.
I am bursting at the seams, ready to tell you all about it. Where should we start?
Well, I guess overall, you know a little bit about the Janine story because I've been sharing it with you as we in a very transparent moment as we validated the effort of this show itself, and then coaching me through gaining the visibility of it and how to be a better host and how to have a platform and all the things. And you know about me asking Janine to be a part of the show, what our relationship is like. You've seen a tiny bit of media, and you've come in on a few episodes so far to talk to me about, kind of a coach the coach segment. So you've had a small bit of information, and then you actually meet Janine herself. Let's kind of start off with your overall impressions or thoughts. What's the Gilly take? What's your hot take, Gilly, on Janine's entrepreneurial journey?
Gilly Cam. It was such a pleasure to meet Janine because, like you said, I felt like I'd had a bit of a ringside seat to a lot of what's been going on, and so to meet up with her and really perhaps put some meat on the bones for her in terms of how the work she's done with you begins to translate into a business model. The first thing I have to say is that, as always, when I coach someone who has worked with you around their positioning and their values, their, really getting under the skin of what they want from their business and their life, because the work you do with people goes a lot deeper than your kind of average brand or messaging. Positioning a person, you really get to the nuts and bolts. So it's always such a pleasure to work with anyone that's had that dose of Rebecca. And Janine was certainly no exception. She was just bubbling with the possibility of what's now available for her. And I just loved how she really felt. She seemed to me like she was feeling limitless. And I know that that's the effect that you have on people. So that was a great place to start, because from my perspective, what I then want to do is get into the nuts and bolts of, okay, so we've got these big ideas and we've got this ethos of what you're all about, Janine. How do we take that and turn it into a profitable, wildly fulfilling business? The reality. What do you want to be doing each day with your time? What does a great working day look like for you? How are you actually going to make money? What are people going to actually pay you for? And so that's really where we set off together on our call. And it was we did a good, I think it was almost a couple of hours of coaching together. So we did a really good deep dive. And we started off, obviously, where we always start, with positioning. And the good thing about that was it gave me the real inside track of where she was up to with her thoughts around her who, if you like, her who and her what. So just to be clear for everyone listening, when I talk about business model, I'm talking about three things. I'm talking about your clients or your people, your service or your product, and your price. People, product, price. Those are the three legs of the stool of your business model. So, of course, with Janine, we start on people, the who. And I wanted to really get under the skin of how she felt about niching further down. And the reason for that is, I know talking about niching is probably done to death, but that's for a reason. It's really important, because can you serve everybody? Absolutely. Yes, you probably can. Will you find anybody, or will you attract anybody if you are setting out to serve everybody? Absolutely not. You're just making your job of selling what you do so hard for yourself if you don't niche down. So that's really where our conversation started. And we started talking about how Janine is really a voice that stands out. We were talking about something else, and I can't remember, so you'll have to visit the episode really to get the real download on this. But she was talking about this disruptive nature of the work she's done with you. And straight away, for some reason, that landed with me. She's not, to use your words, Rebecca, she is not a mediocre voice in the landscape of voiceover talent. You know, she's not a mediocre voice. And so we really went down this conversation around niching and around, you know, is she the voiceover talent for the more controversial messages that need to be heard? And she loved that. She absolutely loved that. Because
I absolutely love that.
Are you loving it? I
was.
Do you know what we said on the session? Rebecca's going to be loving this.
I was like, I almost had a moment where I was jealous because you got deeper than I did. I was like, damn, that Gilly, she's so good. Like I was dancing on the edge of it. I was dancing on the edge of it, but I never went all the way down into that rabbit hole, which is the power of collaboration. Is the power of co-creation, because we're really kind of developing an asynchronous brand, you know, immersive support for her, in which, you know, first we had to kind of tease her out from the community center idea, which was perfectly viable. I'm not saying we couldn't have done that. Then we had to get into the voiceover thing and be like, well, you know, are you a voiceover artist, or are you Black Voices for a New Regeneration? Like, is it a little politically charged? Just, you know, and are we really going to lean into a for us by us model? And we did decide to do that. And the positioning is very clear. And then you're taking it even further, because I don't even know that
my marketing hat on. I think that this is the thing. This is the beauty of collaboration, is that I've got a slightly different lens. And you know, I want to say that I'm doing it from a purpose-driven place, but actually the lens I've got on it, because it's my job, is looking at it as it through the how will we market this business and make it incredibly and wildly profitable? We niche and become the go-to talent for this narrow sector. Janine, would you believe, took it a step further, Rebecca, because she was on a roll by this point. She suddenly had a massive aha moment. And that was that the controversy that she would love to actually be niched right down to is in public health. And that's her background. And suddenly it was like plink, 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 plink. Every little thing just dropped into place. The work she'd done with you, the work she'd just done with me, it was like it just fell into one of those shape sorting toys that kids have, because she actually got quite tearful, and she just realized that everything she's done up till now is leading to this. So that was so interesting. It was so powerful.
That's amazing. You haven't even seen, because they haven't even been published yet, but you haven't even seen the episodes where we really talk about, will you be the voice for a gun commercial? Will you be the voice for a cigarette commercial? Will you be the voice for something? And that's where we came to the do no harm piece. And the do no harm piece was really about what we won't do. And you and Janine got into what you will do. And so, like, I'm above the moon. It would take, I think it would take another entrepreneur 3 to 5 years of iteration, listening, and active listening to get to this level of specialization.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is work that you would either not be able to do on your own, or it would take you probably a couple of years, like you say, to get to this point. But working, and that is what is so special about this show that you're doing, is giving Janine, this incredible entrepreneur with so much potential, the ability to fast track her progress to such an extent that she's bringing her dream vision of her business to life far quicker than anyone else could, without having this level of support, in my opinion.
Well, that is the point of this show. The world is your oyster.
Yes.
You're bringing it right home. What do you think her struggles are going to be? What do you think she's going to really have the hardest time with right out of the gate?
I think so. Well, once we'd kind of nailed that part of the business model, we went on to talk about the offers. And obviously, Janine has a bigger goal, which is one day to have an agency for speakers. And we agreed that at that point, it could be that she up niches. So we always say at the beginning, you have to niche right down. As you get more successful, yes, you can expand into other arenas. And I'm sure that will happen for Janine. I think I don't think it's a struggle. I think what is kind of one of her next steps really is to start looking at packaging up what she does into an absolutely irresistible proposal for these kind of public health controversial subjects. And here's where Janine will set herself apart. Most voiceover talent would not be expected to have back knowledge, in-depth knowledge of the industry that they want to offer their services to. They just wouldn't have the depth of knowledge that she has. Because she has, Janine's got this unfair advantage, and we all love an unfair advantage, of being able to pitch a solution that they don't even know is an option for them. So she's got this double whammy of working with you on creating incredible content that attracts people who are already looking for voiceover talent. But she's already also got this amazing opportunity to go to her ideal people and say, have you ever thought about doing this? Because I've had an amazing idea and here's what I think it could look like. And that's when she explained something to me that I didn't know. And that was that very commonly in this voiceover industry, there'll be a consultant that will go in to a company and talk about what that company wants. Then they will go off and source the talent. And of course, what Janine's creating is a one-stop shop. She has the ability to act as the consultant, particularly in this niched down arena that she's going to become the specialist in. she's going to be able to act as the consultant anyway. And if it's a perfect fit client for her, she is the talent. And if it isn't, she will have an agency of people who want to work under her umbrella that she can pull from. It's kind of like a win-win for the client, though, because there's no detached message, is there? It's like straight, it's straight from the horse's mouth. You know how, like Chinese whispers, sometimes the message gets broken down by the time the brief gets to the talent, that they're kind of on a separate page.
Here in America, we call that game telephone.
Exactly. And there'll be none of that for her clients.
That's very interesting.
I haven't answered your question.
They're also not willing. Well, I don't know that. I actually don't know what their clients were willing to do and not willing to do. But I think another way that she sets herself apart is, it's not easy to have tough talks. It's not easy to read something off a page that you're afraid of. So because she's not afraid to take things head on and to have tough conversations with grace, and I mean, I always say grace and glory for her, then she has that also unique differentiator.
Oh, that's so true. And also, as you said that, what came to me was also, it's hard for people to read from a page something and perform as passionately as you need to when it's a controversial or disruptive subject if you don't understand the context behind it. And again, by niching down into the industry that she knows and is already passionate about, she's completely overcoming that obstacle too, because she already has a lot of in-depth knowledge about this. So that is really hot. Good.
That is hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is hot for her. I don't know that I would have known. I don't know that I would have known that this is where we were going to go. I knew she wasn't going to pick the community center. There's just not enough return on that without huge partnerships. If she didn't have those huge partnerships to begin with, it was going to be such a lift, and you have to really be passionate about it. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew we were going into voiceovers. She's a gift, like she just has a gift for it, but I didn't know we were going to go in this direction, and marrying that with public health, and then again the ability to have tough conversations and to be able to contextualize that in your local color. Hot. Joy.
And to be able to consult with the client around what would, she's actually going to be able to give input to the content. She's going to be able to, she'll be able to say, listen, that won't come across as powerfully as it would if we said it this way. Because she will have enough knowledge of what they're trying to achieve. So I think it's a really perfect way for her to frame her offers. And really offers, we all overcomplicate them, but it is just a case now of her going away and thinking how she would like to package that up. Is she going to offer clients to have her on retainer? Is she going to offer some kind of consultation package where she goes in and then they get X number of hours of talk over time? Or, it's a case of her working out what that looks like. And what's going to make it a really irresistible offer for the client. She's got some. She's definitely got some homework to do around benchmarking as well. She asked a really interesting. I can't remember if she asked the question, but something really interesting came up around pricing, which is that third leg of the stool. And she said that I don't know where to start with pricing, which is something that probably every client I ever coach will start off from. I just don't know where to start with pricing. Don't know where to pitch. And my answer is kind of always the same. It's like you have to do market research, find out what average people in your industry charge, and then find out a way to be way above average and charge way above average. Because you can charge as high as you like if you deliver that level of value. If you charge an average service, if you provide an average service, charge the average, charge the benchmark for the industry. If you deliver a service below average, close down your business. You have no business being in business. But if you are better than average. If what you do, like Janine, by niching, is if you're specialist in your industry, if you can add this consulting element to it that's adding so much value to the client, then sure as hell you can charge double what an average voiceover artist would charge. Absolutely, because what the client will get from her will be so much more than that is available from an average person in that industry. So that was the take that came out on pricing.
And she's not also beholden to a third party who's the video production company. So she's not like, they're not her clients she's trying to court unless she's in alignment with video production companies that are also in alignment with her clients. But it takes her out of the service provider modality of like, I just have to wait for gigs. I just have to see what's up on the job board to, you know, full-fledged consulting and partnerships, which is really maximizing her experience and her brain power. So
yes, and
awesome,
gives her
Julie.
the opportunity to create clients, not wait for them to find her.
Exactly. Work her network in a way that makes sense instead of just like, you know, hey everybody, I'm doing voiceover now. So if you know anybody or you have a need, can't you reach out to me? Which is where we kind of all start. Now she can be like, in my experience working in this industry and in the nonprofit I founded and in my decades of, you know, public service and advocacy, I have found that in order to build trust with an audience, it all comes down to tone and voice.
Right.
That's awesome, Jilly. Where do you think I should go with her now? That's an interesting question.
Great question. And so much came up that I kept, I was talking to her, I kept thinking, oh my God, Rebecca's going to love this. She's going to want to get her teeth into this. So I think probably, I mean, her positioning is so good, but I do think it could go back and the 4 could be tweaked. I think for her now, she's going to need help with the messaging around, well, the actual offer itself. So help to kind of shape the offer. I think she will need your help with. From a messaging perspective, for sure.
You've given me a good place to start. Plus, I think we're really at website and YouTube. She's going to need a place for her portfolio.
I really think it felt like the downloads dropping into her head as we went through that call. It just felt like, no, this isn't going to waver now. She's ready. She's ready for you to kind of weave that magic with a website. And with some social profiles, because I think, you know, she said at the end of the call, it felt just so right. So yeah, I think website, I mean, you're just the website copy you're going to be able to come up with for this is going to just be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be hot. What a fun project for me. That's what's awesome is it's just another delightful win-win. Right. And anybody who's out there right now listening to the brilliance of Jill Mokes, because in essence, people are seeing what it's like to work with a coach like you. How could they find more about you, Jilly?
They can head to my website, which is jillmokes.com. My name is there, and adda.com. And they can also find out more. I have a weekly podcast. So if you like this, you might like the podcast. It's called Heads Together, and it is all about growing a business. If you are a coach or other kind of change maker, so certainly Rebecca and Janine, I think both fall into that change maker category. So if
can Janine and I come on the podcast?
Yes.
Together?
Well, you are my resident voice anyway. You're my resident takeover host. So Rebecca likes to come onto the podcast periodically and do a takeover, which I just love. It's
Ahoy!
It's hilarious because mainly because she does try to speak in my English accent, which is horrific. But apart from that, it's fun. Oh my God. I can't bear it. Girl, I can't bear it.
Yes, let's do a podcast recording with.
I would absolutely love that. I would love
Will
that.
you come on
if you're
Stone for
listening, check
will
out
you
Heads
come
Together
on-
and then you'll be able to catch it. And can I come on yours too?
That's what I'm saying. Will you come on the fruit roll up, the three of us?
Yes.
That's
definitely.
fabulous. I think that would be
Yeah,
awesome
I would
additional
love
content.
to.
Okay, we've made a date. Listen, folks at home, even if you're having a conversation, a casual conversation with your business bestie, don't end without a call to action. What are we going to do next? We're going to schedule time for me and Janine on Jill's podcast. Gill and Janine are going to come hopefully on Stone Fruit Roll Up, which is a live show I do every Thursday on YouTube on the Stone Fruit channel. And that will be exciting. So don't leave without a call to action. And do you know who I learned that from?
I can't even imagine.
What else would you coach me to say?
What else would I coach you to say? What a good question. So you touched on it. You very generously said just now, if we go back, you said, and Gill, where can people find you if they want to work with you? And you generously let me do that, but you didn't do that. So I would definitely coach you to end with, tell people if they want your voice in their ear, where can they reach out to you and kind of talk to you about what you do in terms of creating this incredible positioning, in terms of like teeing people up to create a different business, like a business that's going to stand out. Because you know what, this niching down thing, people are really struggling with that at the moment. They feel like it's really hard because there's, especially with the economic landscape, no one wants to say no to anything because they're so scared. They have this scarcity mindset with their money. Completely, I understand that. But they think the answer is to go wider and say, listen, I can't niche down because I need to say yes to any kind of business. But the thing is, it's counterproductive.
How do they do what?
How do they find you?
Thank you. You can find me at stonedfruit.com, STONEDFRUIT.com, or a little blurby about me at RebeccaGunter.com, RebeccaGuntr.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Find us on the YouTube channel. Send me an email, pitmaster@stonefruit.com. That would be a fun way to connect with me as well. I love answering questions, and maybe you'd like to apply to be on a future season. Oh boy, now we're cooking with gas. We've made some solidly strategic business decisions based on business modeling and brand development. Now it's time to have fun. Join us next week as we get into some core values, the reasons to believe. These are the things that can bridge any new vertical, pivot, transformation, because people believe in you and who you are, not just the services that you purport to deliver and the quality by which you promise to deliver. This is all about who you are as a person. More and more people are building business relationships based on shared values. What better way to build a lighthouse that attracts your most perfect partners, customers, prospects, colleagues, sponsors, opportunities than to be a lighthouse for your values? This is how people can find you, and this is how people can believe in you no matter what you do. I can't wait to get into it with Janine. I know her core values are going to be something to see. See you next week on Business in the Raw, only on 100 TV. Gilliant. I forget what it is already. Hey everybody, welcome. You should visit Rob Greenland's show Mondays at 10 o'clock. I don't even know if that's right. Bagel.